I'll never forget my uncle leaning over that old refrigerator. It was a regular old, old style refrigerator with the big lever handle that you have to pull up. So it wasn't very tall, maybe 5 foot. My uncle's a big guy though, over 6 foot, well over 200 pounds. And he had this new gun that his father had won in a football game lottery. You know, that you pick the game and the score, and then if you get the right points. And so he won this gun, and now they've both been shooting guns all of their lives. And my uncle said, this would be a great gun for shooting a deer. And his dad said, that would be a great gun for shooting an elephant or a tank. They took the shell, the round, out of this gun, and they set it on top of a dime, and the dime disappeared. They set it on top of a nickel, and it almost covered the entire nickel. So my uncle, big strapping guy, decides, I'm gonna fire this gun. And my grandpa said, that's a really bad idea. I think you need a better brace. So they drug the refrigerator over near the pickup truck so that he was kind of pinned between the refrigerator and the pickup truck. And he lays this gun up over the top of the refrigerator, and he fires at an 18-inch cedar fence post that's about 150 yards away. Now nobody can see this fence post because it's 150 yards away, except him, because he's got the giant scope. And he's sighting the gun in, and he fires the shot, and when the kick from this gun throws this 200+ pound man not just away from leaning on top of the refrigerator, but over the hood of the truck. He falls completely on the hood of the truck. His feet are off the ground. He slides off the truck, never lets go of the gun. That was pretty impressive. Falls to the ground and pops back up with the gun, and then looks at me, I was about 12, and says, do you want to fire it? I'm thinking, are you nuts? It threw you 10 feet. Why would I want to fire it? The whole conversation about what is this gun good for was going through my head for a long time. If you shot a deer with a weapon like that, what would be left? I mean, just be hamburger. The whole thing would be hamburger. We walked out to the fence post, the 150 yards away, 18-inch cedar fence post. And if you know anything about old farm fences, it was the corner post, which means it's designed to take all the pressure of the fence going this way and all the pressure of the fence going this way and pull them from both sides to pull the tension of the fence around that one post. And that post has got to be deep in the ground, and it's got to be strong because it's being pulled from both directions. And then usually about 4 or 5 feet out, it'll have its first support post, but there will be a crossbar between them. And he hit that fence post about 6 inches down with this 700 mag. Beast of a gun, 300 mag, beast of a gun, 300 Winchester Magnum. And the fence post was nothing but splinters from the top to the crossbar, which means now we have to take this entire support bar out. We're gonna have to pull the tension on this fence and hope it stays, and then put another post in its place, or we're gonna have to put something inside it to hold it, because half of it's gone and the rest of it's splintered all the way to the bottom. And his dad looked at him and said, why in the world would you shoot the corner fence post, the support post for the whole fence? I mean, that's a 1/4 mile of a fence in either direction. And he said, I wasn't aiming at the post, I was aiming at the bird that was sitting on the post. So, okay, so he missed a little bit, but here's really my point. That corner post, that corner fence post, serves a significant purpose. And I believe in America, in our country, we're losing the value of our corner posts. We're losing our ability to have strong ideas pulling in opposite directions and something that stands firm on those ideas. You saw several interviews over the last week with people like Dr. James Payne and Dr. Phil Rich and Senator Jason Rapert and Dr. Mike Brown. And these are all men that I highly respect and I highly honor for their education. I highly honor for their accomplishments. I highly honor for their teachings. And although I don't 100% agree with everything that they teach, I highly honor both the conclusions that they've come to and the process through which they've come to those conclusions. Now, I have friends on both sides of that tension. I have friends who just as easily will support homosexuality or abortion as a right for a human to decide what they want to do with their own life and their own body. That under the grace of God, it's their right to decide that, and no one should judge them or destroy them for it. And then I have those friends who say we should legislate and politically mandate abortion and gay marriage and homosexual behavior and all of these things. And I'm not going to tell you where I stand on it. You may have a pretty good clue already based on other things that you've seen on this video. But I am going to tell you that I believe that corner post is absolutely essential to liberty in our country. The ability to have the tension and pull in both ways, to have both very strong opinionated ideas in this direction and very strong and opinionated ideas in this direction. And if we lose sight of those, our country is toast. Now let me ask you this question. What is the corner post in your life? What is the one thing that's driven so deep in the ground, so strong in your life, that no matter how bad the tension pulls on either side, you are deep and secure that the tension pulling on your life from both sides is going to hold firm? And what happens if someone fires around and splits that post? Does your whole world crumble around it? Or is that corner post so solid that it can't be moved? You know, there's been a lot of rhetoric, and I say rhetoric is a very specific term. A lot of ways of throwing words around to manipulate and change and alter ideas to agree with what they're saying. And a lot of rhetoric is manipulative lies. A lot of what is said is telling you what someone wants to be true. Let me go back to the example of the 1970s, when everybody's cars went from really big to really small. And part of the reason they did was because we were being told in the news media every day, we're running out of gasoline, 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 until it became a chant, it became a mantra. Gas stations around the United States had lines 2, 3, 5, 10 days long. They started rationing gasoline, gas prices went up, cars got smaller, efficiencies got made differently, cafe standards came into place. Ironically, it's 50 years later and we haven't run out of gasoline, number one. Number two, our gas prices have gone down even from what they were then, because not only have we found more fuel efficient ways to make a car without cafe standards, but we have additionally found more ways to harvest the fuel that's in our earth. Now, I am not a scientist. I am not an oil specialist. I do know several. I know several who work in the oil fields. Tommy Wilson has been around oil fields all of his life. Tim Monroe has been around oil fields all of his life. Some of these guys can tell you better than I can. I even have friends who work in mud technology to know, when they look at the mud that's coming out of a core sample, exactly how deep in the ground the oil is and what kind of oil comes out of it. But we found technologies to harvest oil, and I've heard from some scientists and some oil specialists, much greater qualified than I am, that we have more oil, shale oil, natural gas, and ability to generate gasoline underneath the state of Texas than the United States would need for 100 years at the current pace of usage. Now, there's a tension pulling on that fence. We're going to run out of gas. 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 We got to stop using fossil fuels. We're destroying the earth. There's a mantra going this way. There's also a mantra going this way, that our natural resources are the most cost-effective way to take care of the people who live on the earth, and the people are more important than the earth. Yes, we have to be responsible. Yes, we have to be good stewards of what we've been given. But there's enough natural resources if we use them right and don't waste them. If we use them to the benefit of humans rather than as a political leverage tool. You follow me? So we have the same game being played with babies. Abortion or mother's rights? Is it the right of the mother? I heard a doctor, an MD, say the other day, in all of the years that I've been an obgyn, and I've been in delivery, and I've been in post-operative and postpartum, I have yet to have seen a case where the mother's life would have been lost if the baby had not been aborted. I have never seen a life who was threatened to the extent that a C-section would not have saved the mother's life. Now, obviously there are those cases, but they are so rare that to build a political policy around the idea of abortion in the case to save the mother's life is a bit ridiculous. It's a bit like having marriage rights for homosexuals when they represent less than 1% of the overall population of the United States, unless you have an agenda to change that percentage. Again, I'm not going to tell you where I stand on these. I'm just going to tell you there's a corner post. In fact, there's a cornerstone. A cornerstone that by his own declaration said, I will be a cornerstone and I will be a rock of offense. I will be a stumbling block. Because some people are going to look at what I've done and what I've said and say, that is absolute silliness. That is foolish. Why would he even do that? And then there will be some who are going to look at the work of the cross and the resurrection of the Christ and go, you know, of all of the people in all of history who claim to be God or anything like God, that's the only one who got out of the grave and walked away. None of the others even make that claim to have been resurrected. Some say reincarnated, but only one makes the claim that when you kill me, I'm getting up again. That's a cornerstone. That's a rock of offense. That's a center place where tension can be pulled in a lot of different directions, and it's not moving. I love the way it was said, and I believe it was Lee Strobel who said, when you look at Christ, and Lee Strobel attacked the idea of Christianity from the place of being an investigative journalist and an atheist. And he dug into the legal aspects and the historical aspects of a man named Jesus, and he came to the conclusion that this guy is one of three things. He's either a liar, meaning he claimed to be God and he knew that he wasn't, and he knew he was lying when he said it. Or he's a lunatic. He's not God, and there's no way he could be God, and he's pretty sure that he is God, which means he's nuts. Or he actually is who he says he is. And if you dig through all of the evidence, you've got to come to one of those three conclusions. There's not really another one. If he says all of these things about I am God, and you say, well, he's a great prophet, but he's not God, then you're nuts. Because you can't believe all of the things that he said except that one. Either all of it's true or none of it's true. Right? Or he's a lunatic. He truly thinks he's God, and the rest of us are looking at him going, right? Either way, he is a cornerstone. Time is split in half by his birth and his death. Eternity is marked by his existence. And because of that, we have to ask the question, who is Jesus to you? I have a collection of old books that I bought while I was in England about 25 years ago. And in one of those books, there's a series of sermons written in 1848. Yes, I'm outside in Little Rock, Arkansas, so life is going on around us. I pray for whoever the sirens are for. We're near a hospital, so it could be someone's life in danger. This book of sermons, written by F.W. Robertson in 1848, in the preface to the book, on the very first page, he says, imagine standing at the foot of the Eiffel Tower, looking up at the Eiffel Tower. And as you stand at the foot of the Eiffel Tower, you look at the man at the other foot of the Eiffel Tower, some 50 to 100 feet away, and you say, you're not standing under the Eiffel Tower, I'm standing under the Eiffel Tower. You can physically put your hand on the beam, the steel that holds up the Eiffel Tower. And the man standing across from you can physically put his hand on the steel that's holding up the Eiffel Tower. But who's right? Is it this leg that is the Eiffel Tower or that leg that is the Eiffel Tower? Now imagine for a moment the distance necessary for the feet or the foundational planting of the legs, the corner posts, the stands of the Eiffel Tower. If that tower were 10 times as tall as it is now, how far apart would those feet have to be to hold it up? Now, I work in the television industry. And when you drive by one of those towers, it's 200 or 300 feet in the air, but there are guy wires that come down in every direction. And there's one post, one giant post, that all of the point of pressure comes down, and it goes several feet, tens of feet, dozens of feet into the ground to hold that antenna up, and then it's tied off in multiple directions. Can you imagine if one of those anchors, one of those cables came loose, the peril that that tower would find itself in? Can you imagine if one person stood at the base of that cable and went, no, this is truth. This is where truth is. That over there is not truth. This is truth. How silly it would seem. This is the one that holds the tower up. Not that one over there, not those over there, not those 22 other cables, just this one. This is the only truth. There is a foundational truth. There's one pole on the ground under a television antenna that holds the whole thing up. But there are 22 other supporting cables without which it won't stand. When a fence is pulled tight over that cornerstone, over that corner post, over that foundational anchor, there's a lot of stress and strain. But without that foundation, it all comes down. And we're coming into an election season, and there are some ideas that are going to be tensions pulled on you, on your thoughts, on your beliefs, on your relationships in every direction. And I'm not going to tell you what to think, but I am going to challenge you to think. I want you to think about the things that are foundational in our country, the things that are absolutely important. Let me just throw this one notion at you as a deciding factor. I want you to think about what it means to you. Wouldn't it be silly for us to promote the idea of people coming to our country who have no passion for those who live here to remain alive? Just think about that for a moment. Wouldn't it seem important that if we have a leader in our country or people coming to our country, that they should at a minimum agree that those of us who live here have a right to live? That we as Americans have a right to exist on American soil and to do it safely? If people are coming to our country whose intent, both verbalized and written and demonstrated through their actions, by every measure, want to see America gone, want America radically transformed into something other than it is, who don't believe that we have a right to express democracy around the world, who don't believe we have the right to help oversee fair elections in other countries, who don't believe that we have a right to be a superpower, to be a force for good on the earth, that we should be erased, eliminated, or completely altered to look like other countries with other ideas of government? Do you realize that we are the longest standing democracy or Republican government on the face of the earth? At 240 years, no other form of government has outlasted us. Not one. Not one has exhibited the freedoms that we have. Not one has protected life the way we have. Not one has protected religious liberties and the freedom of thought like we have. Do you know that that's not being taught in our schools anymore? Do you know that young people today hear that socialism and communism and Marxism are all a little bit different, but they're all different ways of expressing an idea? No, they're not. Marxism, socialism, and communism are all the same. If you think I'm kidding, I want you to go through my friends list and find a young lady by the name of Virginia Prodan. Virginia Prodan is in my friends list. She is a personal friend of mine. Virginia Prodan escaped communist Russia after an assassin walked into our office and said, "I am going to kill you because of your Christian beliefs." And when he pulled the gun out, she prayed for him and changed his life and his eternity. This is a woman who knows communism from the inside out, because her training, her education is that of a human rights attorney. She has been saving lives from communism all of her life. She now lives in Texas. She is a personal friend of mine. I challenge you. If you think you know something about communism, contact Virginia Prodan. Send her a message right here on Facebook and say, "Tell me about communism." And I promise you, she can inform you in ways with experience and history and education that you cannot begin to fathom. It will boggle your mind. It is a cornerstone of understanding. It is a cornerpost of truth that has been hidden. It has been splintered. That the democracy, the republic that we live in America, a 250 years, almost 250 year success story, is one of a kind. And if we give it up, it may never be seen on this earth again. America is a city shining on a hill. We offer hope. We offer dreams coming true. Why do you think people come from all over the world to get to America? Neil Diamond wrote the song in the 70s. They're coming. They're coming to America. They are. They flood across our borders, north and south, east and west. They come in constantly. Why do they come here? Because it's the greatest nation on earth. Because of what we've done for 240 plus years. It's the greatest nation on earth. And the minute we unplug that and start doing something different, what they've come for will no longer exist. People who want to come to America should come to America and assimilate the successes that we've seen, the passions that we lived with, not come to America and transform it into the place they came from. What sense does that make? I want to take you back to the story at the very beginning of my uncle with the very big gun. It's very easy when you have a gun that big to aim at a small target and destroy so much more. as you are posting on Facebook, whether it's comments to this post or comments about the political parties or comments about the political candidates, remember that you, like firing at that bird on the top of a corner post, every word that comes out of your mouth is like that bullet. You may cause more damage than you do good. There are a lot of people out there right now separating friendships and relationships over political parties, separating long-term family relationships, destroying communities, destroying churches, destroying offices and relationships over a division of ideas. Remember that the cables that hold that tall tower up are not going to be in the same place. If all of them were, the tower would fall. Your ideas may be different. Your conclusions of how do we get to the right answer may be different. And I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with everything we disagree on. What I want to know is that you understand what your corner post is. Why do you believe what you believe? Is it immovable? Can you trust it in all circumstances? If you push on it from a different angle, will it collapse? If it will, get another cornerstone, get another corner post, build it deeper, build it stronger, make it bigger. Pour into it. I'm not going to challenge what you believe other than to say I want you to know why you believe what you believe. And I want you to fairly and lovingly and filled with grace and mercy express what you believe to people around you. If you believe that this country is the greatest country on earth, don't fail to vote. If you believe that we represent hope and light for nations all over the world, because there has been more charity coming out of the American people than the American government has ever pondered. The American people have given more money to Haiti, to Japan, for typhoons, for earthquakes, all over the globe from day one. Missionaries sent out, business people sent out, businesses launched in other countries because of the hope that America represents. Don't abandon that to a disagreement over tiny little squabbles. Don't shoot at the little bird and blow away the fence post that holds up the entire structure. Don't let your relationship with people who matter to you become the victim of a political argument. My friends, it's simply not worth it. I'm not saying to go along to get along, and I'm not saying that you need to agree with everybody in order to have your ground. I'm telling you, know what you believe and why you believe it. Be ready to express that fairly, but understand that other people have firmly held convictions as well. And to them, they're just as important. Help them find the cornerstone of truth and build upon that. Don't fail your country. Don't fail your family, and don't fail your children by failing to vote on November the 8th. I am J Loren Norris, and you've been watching Tell It Like It Is TV. God bless America. Have a blessed day.